everybody, and welcome to Industry Night with me, Nycci Nellis, the show that takes you on the deep dives of what's happening in the restaurant community. If you're new here, hi. Thanks so much for joining me today. A little bit of background about me. I've been covering the DC food, wine, and hospitality scene for the last 20 years. If you live in the DC area, you read the list, areyouonit.com, the online e-zine that tells you absolutely everything that is happening here. All the events, all the gossipy buzz, every single opening, and the longest list of what's opening soon. Because you know, when it comes to restaurants, even though they tell you when it's opening, it's not really when it's opening. But I got the dirt on all that stuff. So check out the list, areyouonit.com. Of course, you want to follow me at NYCCI, NELLIS, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, and of course, and LinkedIn. And of course, this show, Industry Night, which is now on YouTube. Always remember that you can always DM me on any of those platforms, and you can also ask questions on YouTube. I'm always delighted to ask my guests or any of the previous guests who've been on your questions. So get in touch. And let's see, am I forgetting anything? Oh my God, I am. Foodie and the Beast, 15 years on air. My husband David and I have the only food and wine variety show in the DC metro area. Of course, you see me on TV and hear me regularly on WTOP because I am out and about. And in case you notice, I'm in a beautiful new location. I have a new residency for the month of December, and I'm so excited. This is Wren. It is in the Watermark Hotel. And this area, if you haven't been here in the Capital One building, is like on fire. 2 years ago, it was just this building, I feel like, which also has a theater in it and a Wegmans in it. And now there are just buildings and restaurants popping up over the entire area. It's sort of on the other side of the Galleria in Tysons, like on the other side of the Beltway, or at least, I mean, that's how this Marylander sort of feels about it. But anyway, here we are in Wren, and I love Wren because this is in the Watermark Hotel. Chef Yo Matsuzaki. Matsuzaki, yep. Thank you. So he does beautiful food based on his Japanese heritage, but using local ingredients. He does an incredible omakase here. And their bar, which you can see right behind me, has incredible whiskey, Japanese whiskey offerings, and they do an incredible cocktail menu. We're going to get into all of that with the guy right next to me, Erik Bergman, in just a second, because he'll be joining me later, along with later in the show. I'm so excited because I have two industry veterans joining me, Reilly and Kris Carr. Both are co-founders of SRG Concepts. Now, you may not know the name SRG Concepts because that's not what you would know, but they're the guys behind Chicken and Whisky. They're also behind Doi Moi. So they have a really interesting way about picking out where they are, the concepts that they do, and how they're expanding them. And I'm really looking forward to talking to them. But first, let's talk about where I've been, because per usual, your girl has been out and about, eating all the things, seeing all the things, and there's so many ways to enjoy what's happening during this season right now. So I was at Centralina earlier this week, seeing my girl, Amy Brandwine, who is doing all the things at her space in City Center. It was actually a luncheon to celebrate Chefs for Equality 2023. I know you've heard it from me 1,000 times. I'm sure you're sick of it, but it was the event of the season, and we raised over $500,000 for the Human Rights Campaign. Chefs for Equality is the only volunteer-run event that raises funds for the Human Rights Campaign, and we include every single chef in the DC metro area, of note, I might add, to cook at that event. You can check my Insta feed to see all the fun from that event, and also what Amy was cooking up for that luncheon, because it was delicious. Bombay Club, Ashok Bajaj's restaurant, is celebrating 35 years in service, and that deserves so much round of applause because this business is so tough. But I went there and I just forgot, because it has been a minute, like how gorgeous that space is. It's so luxurious and posh, and the food is so delicious. Anyway, he's got an amazing menu celebrating his 35 years, featuring some of the iconic dishes. Of course, you can get anything you want off the a la carte, but the hospitality there is just top notch. It's such an Ashok restaurant in every way. Checked out the new Corso. Guess who's back? Cathal Armstrong is back, and he's cooking it up over in Shirlington, of all places. And he is not doing what you are used to him doing. He's doing Italian, like mom and pop Italian. He is partnered with Jill and Jeff Erber of Cheese Teak. They have reinvented their concept there in Shirlington, and they are doing the kind of pasta you want on a cold night. I had the rigatoni with bolognese. It was delicious. Chef's porchetta is not really porchetta. It's really pork belly, but it's delicious. And the bistecca, you know, my husband is a huge Italophile, is like on point. Oh, and the dessert at the end, I can't remember what they call it. It's like Circus Maximus or something like that. It's insane. Calling it a sundae is not fair because there's so much else going on there, but it's worth every calorie. And then lastly, for you theater goers out there, you know I have you, went to the Shakespeare Theater Company in the Harmon Hall last night to see As You Like It, but it's not as you normally see it. So it is the Bard and the Beatles mashed together. There is singing, and it's all Beatles songs set to what's happening in As You Like It, all 60s themed. It was so much fun. Anyway, it's here till January 7th, so if you have a chance, you should absolutely see it. Okay, that was like the lamest pop of a bubbly that I've ever heard, but I'm going to thank Erik Bergman, who is the director of restaurants and bars at the Watermark Hotel, for joining me today. What did you pop, Erik?
Thanks so much for having us and having me. But, you know, Nycci, I didn't want to interrupt your amazing intro there.
But, you know, I like the industry noise.
I felt like I was getting in the way. But so we're here at Wren, as you mentioned. We're a Japanese izakaya restaurant. I wanted to pour you something I don't think you've probably had before. This is, and I know your love of bubbles,
yes,
like your personality here. So we have Hakkasan sparkling sake. This was made at the Hakkasan Brewery in Nagano, Japan, was commissioned by the government of Japan when they hosted the Olympics because they wanted to have a sparkling item to share at celebrations, but they didn't want to pour French champagne.
Right.
So they made sparkling sake. This is made from mountain waters, melted snow caps of Mount Fuji, and you know, it's just incredible stuff. So
all right, I'm going to let you pour for me. Thank you. So I know I gave a little intro to the space. I hope you feel like I did it justice.
Yes.
I'd like to know, like, your take on where we are, the Watermark Hotel, and sort of this Capital One area, because it's like Oz. It came out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
I think Oz is a great description for it because it does seem to just rise up out of the Beltway as you come down. You know, these we're in the Sapphire City instead of the Emerald City, right? With all these blue buildings around. We're in the Capital One Center. We're the new global headquarters for Capital One. So we have over 10,000 associates coming in here. You know, hybrid still, a couple days a week, but traveling in from around the world to join us. Cheers!
Cheers!
So happy to have you.
So happy to be here. Oh, isn't that good?
Isn't that fun?
Yeah,
you have that sake, umami kind of yeasty situation happening with the kanji, and
But you know, I think there's a real, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I think there's a misconception about sake that it's going to be really sweet, cold sake, you know, because of the rice and the starches.
Yep.
But this is really dry. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
it's a fun one. Yeah, I thought you might enjoy it.
Absolutely. Okay, so
we're in the Capital One Center. We're in the Watermark Hotel. And so this hotel was built by Capital One to serve its associates traveling in and out. But of course, we're here for the public here in Tysons, McLean, Vienna. You know, it's funny, you've been here long enough, you know that this Tysons Corner was supposed to be this ring city, was supposed to be this, just outside of DC and but not in DC.
Right.
And I think only now are we starting to see it really become what it was originally intended to be.
Well, I think, honestly, to your point, it's very hodgepodge, right? It's like you got something over here and then you have something over there.
Yep.
But I do believe with what's happening in this Capital One area, is that what they're calling it?
It's Capital One Center. So, we refer to it as a campus. It's it's what are they called? It's a city center, right? Correct, yes,
so, it's just got a little bit of everything. The Wegmans is here, all the things. The theater is here.
There's Capital One
and
Hall,
then there's so many residences and now the hotel and what you all are doing. Let's talk about, in the following weeks, we'll talk about, because it's like a 3-ring circus. So, but let's talk about the restaurant
Sure.
a little bit, because what you guys doing here is really unique.
It's incredible, and I'm so happy to be able to have something of this caliber in Tysons for local residents, because I think it's just a fun place to come, and you don't have to get into the city for a city-like vibe when you walk into the space. You know, as you came in today, I think you hadn't been here since we opened. It's
no,
really,
I've been here since then.
Okay,
but go ahead.
well, you know, it's incredible. You know, so much space we have here. But the restaurant, the evolution is just really interesting. Opened with 40 seats and a bar. You know, just thinking it would be a lounge, you know, for residents of the hotel, guests of the hotel. And today we sit in 110 seats. We just can't add enough seats for people to come and
But can
be
we
able to
talk about
accommodate
what
them.
Chef is doing? Because
Sure.
I think what he's, you know, his background is really
Yes.
interesting. He's been on Foodie and the Beast. I think what he's doing is really unique for the area.
Absolutely. He brings really traditional methods of Japanese cooking to the table, but in an elevated and local inspired
I can't remember.
way.
Did he work for Nobu? He
was
started with Nobu, right?
Yeah, I mean, Chef Morimoto brought him to the
brought
States.
him over, right.
Yeah, you know, which is just incredible. Worked 10 years in New York at Nobu with him, and has been all around the country since then. He was at Zentan for years in the city when that was a thing. But, you know, he came in and he defined what this restaurant was going to be just through his, you know, his cuisine and what he brought to the table every day. So we have what we call an izakaya concept, you know, which really just in Japan is a watering hole, is a place to come and get snacks and bites and commiserate. And so that's what we do here. It's, you know, small and medium plates meant to be shared. As we all know, that's style, right? But it is, you know, it encourages a convivial environment, which I think we find all the time. People just getting together over great cocktails. I appreciated the introduction. We really lean into the spirits here. We definitely have our Japanese whiskeys, but whiskeys abound. We have over 200 labels sitting on the shelf.
Wow.
Always adding anything we can get our hands on here, which is always fun in Virginia. But you know, cocktails is really where we kind of make our stand here in the campus.
Great.
And I think they go really well with chef's menu. We actually have an izakaya option on the menu, and that's simply our version of a chef's tasting menu, where Chef Yo will take you through 5-6 waves of food that just arrive at the table.
Oh, how much fun.
And it feels like it doesn't stop once it gets started. Really, really fun.
I love that. Well, listen, over the next couple of weeks, we'll be having Chef on and the general manager and other people who make what's happening here at the Watermark and at Wren happen, because there's so much happening. So I really appreciate you all having me.
Thank you for being here. We're thrilled to
great
have
fun.
you. Yeah, so much fun. Great.
All right, I'm going to say goodbye to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'm going to bring on my 2 next guests. So I remember when the Chicken and Whiskey concept opened on 14th Street. And I loved that it was all business in the front and party in the back, because I thought that was a really cool concept. But I didn't know who was behind the concept, which I know, if you know me, that's a rarity, because I know everybody in the city. But it was a great addition to 14th Street. So fast forward several years, I met Des Reilly, who's joining me at the moment. But I just met today his business partner, Kris Carr. They're co-founders of SRG Concepts. But they both have interesting roots in the industry and have their hands in several concepts, including the Chicken and Whiskey expansion, as well as taking over the beloved Doi Moi, which, for those of you who know, I had Max Keller on the show recently. I got all upset because I missed his father, Mark Keller. But they're now a part of that, and so many other things. So we're going to get into it. So, hi.
Hi, Nikki.
How are you? Thanks
Happy
for
to be
joining
here.
me.
Hey,
cheers. I love that I'm starting with a little bubbly to get the party going.
Cheers.
We'll wait for you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Okay. So, Des, since I know you first, let's start with you.
Sure.
We'll get to Kris.
All right.
Tell me a little bit about how you got in the industry, because not everybody sits there as a 5-year-old and thinks, one day I'm going to own a bunch of restaurants. How did it happen for you?
Yeah, I never wanted to be in this business.
Okay.
Ever. It was really
Famous last words.
It was really a combination of, I fell in love with the business. It didn't really love me back. I wanted to be an actor and a writer, and apparently wasn't good at either. So I started creating restaurant concepts, and that only started because I met Kris. We were bartenders in New York City, slinging margaritas behind the same stick together. And we just...
Which is a form of acting. Like, let's be clear.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
For
I know I
sure.
mentioned my son who's at Silver Lion. I
Yeah.
mean, he too was a thespian and could not make his passion his profession.
For sure.
But he has found a way to do it behind the bar.
Absolutely. So showing up to work every day, especially in like busy, trendy restaurants, nightclubs, bars, you definitely get that sort of athletic, theatrical experience with, your audience. And it's very technical yet, but there's art and science merging together. It's all entertainment, right? So yeah, I really was fueled by that. But really what became much more fun for me was creating restaurant concepts. And Kris and I would do this together. We would, put old school PowerPoint presentations together with all kinds of great storylines and fun precedent pictures. And
But I feel like you're yada-ing over how you jump from being a bartender
well,
to coming up with restaurant concepts, because lots of people think, hey, it's a great idea, you should do X, but you need the
here's the
to make that happen.
Yeah, so here's really the nitty gritty. I went to work for a guy in New York City who was a great visionary. His name was Jamie Mulholland, and he owned several nightclubs. And he was a great sort of conceptual guy, but I got firsthand experience with all of his operational people and his salespeople and his marketing people. So I was just sort of accumulating all this information and just building it up and developing my own sort of thoughts on how I thought an operational department should run and an events department should run. But it was really more business savvy. I was learning the business of hospitality and the financials as well. And so that was really the turning point, because I suddenly had confidence that, I know I have this creative stuff going on, but a lot of people do, but I think I could marry that with ops, marketing, financials. I really feel like I could merge the two together and then do things that I wanted to do. And so that was really the piece that filled the gap.
Well, I think that's really interesting, because I think a lot of people who get into this industry actually don't have both. They have one or the other, and that's where
for sure
things fall apart.
I didn't have any of that other stuff at first. I really
Right.
didn't. And only over the years have I sort of developed it. And truth be told, when Kris and I did our first restaurant together, and we lost it. We went bankrupt. It was a financial abject failure. It was a critical success. But even at that point in time, when we were able to get our first project called Kettle Hill in Baltimore City launched, I didn't know enough.
Sure.
I didn't really know enough. And so now fast forward to, 2023, soon to be 2024. And this is 12 years later. I really feel like now I know less than I ever thought I would learn.
Okay, well, I'm going to put a pin in you, because what I'm going to say to that, because I want to get to your partner here, is because it's fluid and it's an ever evolving thing, and nothing just because you think, it's like raising a child. Do you know what I mean? Like when they're babies, you finally get them to sleep, like they're sleeping through the night, at 6 months, but then at 8 months, they're not. Like every time you think you've crossed a hurdle, not necessarily true, right?
For sure. Wrinkles at every turn, whether it's construction or whether it's demographics or whether it's sales intentions. Oh, yeah.
Or a pandemic. Hello, things you can't plan for.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Cheers.
Yeah. Oh, cheers to you
belated
too.
cheers.
Oh, good. Lots of cheers. I love this. Here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers, big ears.
Okay. So Kris Carr, let's talk a little bit about your background.
Sure.
He sort of does not delve into the places that he worked at. I don't know if he's embarrassed about them or what the deal is.
I know
but
all about it.
I
Cucina
have
and
no
I've been
doubt.
together since
But so
2005.
wait, were you at the Biltmore? You were at the Biltmore, right?
Biltmore
Room?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
that
in
was
New York?
just previous to me meeting Des. That was
Oh.
2003, 2005.
Yeah.
Because that was a great space.
Amazing.
Oh my God, I love that
Yeah.
space.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so how'd you get in the industry? Were you
What?
also an actor?
No.
Oh.
No, I have no singing, dancing, charismatic traits whatsoever. But no, I went to Penn State for business logistics.
Mm-hmm.
And basically did an internship and realized I don't want to sit in a cubicle for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I got out of school and I moved to New York City, and I needed to pay the bills.
Sure.
So the first thing I did was got a job as a barback.
Okay.
And then graduated from a barback to a food runner, and a food runner to a server, and then to a bartender, and then a bar manager, and then...
But what was it about beverage specifically that sort of rang your bells?
I've always liked just hosting people, just like hospitality. I don't know. I like.
Well, I call it the hospitality chip. Not everybody has it. Like there are lots of
Yeah.
people. I always say, like in New York or LA, it's so much easier for good service and good hospitality because of so many actors.
Yeah.
People are like, it's just another role. I can do it.
Right.
Whereas in DC, no judgment, DC, but
That's
like
the truth.
hospitality is harder because everybody wants you to know when they're serving you. By the way, I went to Harvard. I mean, like it's,
Yeah.
it's a real, it's hard to pull from this pool because of the kinds of people who are here and what they're here for.
Yeah.
And, they want people to know that they're on par with them.
Yeah.
So it makes it
We
tough.
know that firsthand. I mean, when we were in New York City, we would have literally professional actors that are on Broadway, off Broadway.
Right.
They're in movies and they can memorize scripts, like quickly, and they may be able to translate the menu into a performance and watch them perform. At the For Your Guests was amazing, and that I think was one of the most difficult things. Is when we moved out of New York City into our project at Baltimore, we were used to such a caliber of individual that we'd worked with. It was a rude awakening to try to parlay that into Baltimore.
Okay, so how did he to sort of get you to join in and come up with concepts together? Like, when did this partnership happen?
So we met behind the bar in 2005 as bartenders. And then the gentleman that Des was speaking about earlier, Jamie Mulholland, he just gave us a lot of opportunity. So very quickly, as he was growing his business, we were going along for the ride. So I quickly graduated into running all the beverage and the operations and opening the restaurants. And Des really graduated into the creative, the events, the branding, booking, and the entertainment. So he and I kind of went hand in hand, where he would really run all the creative and entertainment components, and I would run the ops. So that was it. That's how we. And
so did you get his blessing to sort of go out on your own?
Oh no, it was not great. So he was pissed.
I had a feeling that was coming.
So, I'll never forget that moment. So Jamie had a couple of partners, and one of his partners was not happy that we were leaving, and we were leaving together as a team.
Sure.
Because it was
you were leaving a hole.
Oh yeah, and it was at a time when the company was not doing well, and we saw the writing on the wall. We saw that this.
What year was this?
2010.
Oh, so right after, like,
yeah,
in mid-recession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we at one point in time in
so you said we should open up a restaurant.
So we did. We tried to actually at first. We wanted to do a concept in New York City on 26th and Park, really right across the street from the flagship store of one of our favorite restaurants. We had a buddy, Ryan. What was Ryan's last name? Ryan. Oh my God.
So long ago.
Anyway,
it's long ago. I can't remember my kids' names. But anyway, go ahead.
We were trying to do on some of the most expensive real estate in America, a restaurant concept. And we had a good concept, but we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Well, you didn't know the math.
Yeah, we didn't know the math. We didn't know the real estate. We didn't know the semantics. We didn't know how to deal with the landlords. But we knew we had something, and we were doing pitches, but it was really not going anywhere fast. But what really made everything change, and this is when I realized that I didn't need New York City in my life anymore. I just needed an opportunity. And Kris, I think, felt the same way.
Yeah.
We got a call from a guy in Baltimore City who was interested, who contacted our architect at the time, our design architect company, who we were working with to develop this concept in New York. He said, hey, why don't you bring these guys to Baltimore? We need a concept. We've got some great people behind it, and let's get this thing going. So we just thought, this was our entree. This is our, really, our...
So was it a sweetheart
MO to get out of
deal?
town.
Looking back, was it a sweetheart deal?
No, but it was a good learning experience.
Yeah, yeah, it was the opposite.
We learned that we thought, because we were running operations of some successful concepts in New York City, we're like, we know everything about owning in places.
Yeah.
Truth be told, owning and running places are completely night and day. So we went to the school of hard knocks.
We didn't understand what personal guarantees meant. We didn't understand any of that exposure.
I could tell you what that means. I totally get that.
Oh yeah, so we learned all of that stuff.
Well, plus, if you didn't really know the city well, what was that building called again? Power Station?
We were in Power Plant Live.
Power Plant Live.
Yeah.
Power Station was a group.
But the tricky thing about Baltimore, it's the most nuanced city I've ever lived in, and it can be feast or famine depending on where.
I know, and I love Baltimore.
Oh, it's great.
I think it's a funky ass city.
It is.
I love it, and I think there are parts, like all of it each part has a very interesting thing about it. But if you don't know your market, and one of the things I do say to people in the business or people who want to open in certain places. It's
Yeah.
like, who are you opening for?
Yeah.
Who is your audience that you think is coming here?
Right.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So did you ask that question before you did this?
I think we did it I think we did it backwards. I
Oh.
think we said we're going to deliver this and you're going to like it.
We will build it
So-
and you should come.
Yes.
Yes,
We
totally
were-
get it.
We were fueled by hubris and ignorance.
Mhm.
We were like we were successful in New York City, so we thought we were so confident. And my wife
Oh,
would
right,
tell
because
you,
you're from New York.
oh yeah, because
Yeah.
we know
Right.
everything goes
Uh-huh.
from
I
New York.
totally get
And
that.
my wife, who's from Baltimore, would constantly remind me that I don't know anything because this is Baltimore now. So
Oh my
and
God,
it-
I like your wife
and
so
it's still
much.
that way about it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know anything,
Okay.
but we were like fueled. We were fueled by that, and really, you can go so far with just blinders on, and
Mhm.
until the shit really hits the fan, and then you don't know what to do. And so, I actually find that cities like Philly, Baltimore,
Mhm.
New Orleans,
Smaller metropolitan cities.
even New York are more. I find Washington D.C. to be almost an anomaly in that whole makeup. It's quite.
Why?
I find that what you guys were talking about earlier, not only with in our industry, this is
Right.
specific to our industry.
Yeah.
The pool of talent that we reach into to try to help run our restaurants, it's very very different
Mhm.
in DC than these other towns.
True.
The almost the appreciation for the professional server, bartender,
Does not exist in DC.
it's not here,
Mhm.
and we see it flourishing in other Dallas. We see it flourishing in
Yeah.
other
Dallas
parts of
is
the
a
country.
huge market. No, totally agree.
Yeah, and I love all those cities, and I was recently in quite a few of them. But God, DC is a head scratcher from so many different reasons. But what you touched on earlier,
Mhm.
that sort of erudite, academic, almost pure approach to just academics, and how that translates to maybe a career on Capitol Hill. It doesn't really work well with the hospitality business.
No, it doesn't, because the people you're serving are the same way. So it's
Yeah.
very difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, so Baltimore was a bit of a fail, but you took
great
the list,
experience.
you learned from it. I
Yeah.
love that, turning it around. So what brings you to DC? Oh no, you started in National Harbor.
Yeah.
Started in National Harbor. Yeah. So
And you went big in National Harbor.
we
Because
did.
those are all brand new spaces and big spaces,
Yeah.
right?
We're just under 6,000 square feet in National Harbor, huge
That's
patio, over 90 seats.
Mm-hmm.
But we lucked out. One of our investors from Kettle Hill in Baltimore,
Mhm.
Stu Damon, who is our third partner in SRG,
Mm-hmm.
he liked what we were doing.
Mhm.
And he's a local guy. He worked for Marriott for many years, lives right outside of DC.
Mm-hmm.
So our relationship was great. So he invited us to join SRG. And we got an opportunity. We got lucky and to do something in National Harbor.
So was that when National Harbor opened, or was it a little later?
It was
It was later. It was
Okay.
later. We picked up a second generation restaurant that was
Oh.
actually owned and operated by a group out of Hollywood.
I know which space.
It was the ketchup space.
Yeah, the ketchup space.
Yeah.
What's his name? The
Ashton-
actor.
Ashton Kutcher. Right.
Yeah.
And listen,
God,
nothing against
talk
Ashton
about
Kutcher.
epic. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Please. I could tell you. Never mind. Let's
How-
talk about you and
how
not
much
talk about
time do you
that.
have?
Oh my God, what if that was a nightmare?
Yeah.
Oh my! But again, talk about people saying we're building it,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
should come. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't even that. It was like building it and like you're welcome.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
there's no hospitality in that.
We certainly got lucky. Our
Mhm.
sophomore effort was incredibly fortuitous. We got this shot really because at the time we were aligned with another man who was an operator. He helped us get that piece of property, but he didn't really have. It was really Kris and myself who they were relying on. They were older guys who they were relying on to
Mhm.
make it happen.
Execute.
Meaning we were gonna come up with a concept, come up with the operations. We were gonna be the boots on the ground, which we were.
Mhm.
We were co-GMs of the restaurant, so we lived in that space, day and night, and that's what they needed. But that's what we needed, and because we were we were poor, we were hungry, we
Right.
got our asses kicked in Baltimore City.
Right.
We needed to come back, and we needed to come back, Nycci, fast,
That proved it. Right.
really
Yeah.
fast. And so this gave us that opportunity. So when we got it, man, we just crunched it out, and we just made it happen. And it now is one of the most successful restaurants in National Harbor. Not
Isn't that
only from a
amazing?
guest service satisfaction and associate satisfaction, but also for us, top line is really.
So explain the concept just quickly, because I think what you did was you hit the sweet spot of what people want to do, especially in the National Harbor. Even though you're not getting seafood out of the National Harbor, when people see a water view, they think they should be eating seafood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
that was exactly the thought. And Des came up with the plan. He said, "Hey, when on the water, serve seafood."
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike Sternberg actually said that.
Was that him?
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
but I
Mike
stole it
I'll give you credit.
Okay.
But Des can speak to more about the concept. You know, every time we find an area in a space, Des will really write a backstory to give it history, give it personality, which helps us give the whole project direction. I'll let him speak more kind of that process, but
I guess so. I didn't turn out to be such a horrible writer after all. So
Right.
it was useful in this respect. But yeah, I really try hard to create a very specific era of time that we want to work within, and I draft, with copy and with photos and music. It's very tactile, so Kris can lock in and understand
It's
it.
like a Pinterest board.
It's very storyboard.
right?
Oh, it
yeah,
totally
like
is.
you're doing a storyboard, and you're telling everybody what your
Yeah.
narrative is,
It's-
and
it's-
how you want it to
is.
feel, the vibe, the whole thing.
It is. It's nothing more elaborate than that.
Okay.
It's very simplistic, but but the reason why we do that is because it becomes the Bible, which we write our PPM with, our business plan.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes the go back and check in, make sure that the lighting is right and the decor is right and the menu is right and all those little idiosyncratic things
Mm-hmm.
and nuances that make up our restaurants. You gotta touch them.
Mm-hmm.
When you get you have questions, you need someplace to go to and say, okay, this is what we decided. This is what we got to do. So let's go in this direction. And
Yeah.
it makes it
there's a
easy.
lot of debates, and it helps
Yeah.
solve the debates really
Yeah.
quickly. Where you say, where
Yeah.
does it fit in the roadmap, right?
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I assume the roadmap has to shift a little bit. We can get into that. I want to go into chicken and whiskey because
Yeah.
then you guys decide to come into DC. And aside from what we talked about as far as hospitality staffing in DC, DC is also, to me, a very tough nut from those who want to open up a restaurant there, in that out-of-towners are not smiled upon greatly.
Yeah.
People, not just, listen, people in the industry, everybody plays well in the sandbox.
Yeah.
I mean, like all the chefs, all the restaurateurs, most of the restaurateurs,
Yeah.
almost everybody really loves to work together, does collabs, all the things. It's the eaters and the diners that are like, oh, you're coming from out of town?
Yeah.
Who are you?
We had a plan for that.
Oh, did you? All right, I'm here for it.
So
Let's hear
we
it.
have a partner. We have a partner in chicken and whiskey. His name's Charles Koch.
Okay.
So he's very
DJ,
much a DC,
right?
DJ
Okay.
Dirty Hand. So
Yeah.
he's a DC fixture. He's owned a couple different nightclubs. He owned Fly, Lounge, owned Heist. So Chuck, I had lived in DC at that point in time for about 4 years. But Chuck was our local guy. He was our boots on the ground. He had all the relationships. So when we brought Chuck in, it gave us a lot of validity to come into DC and pull off what we were
Well, that
trying to
is helpful.
accomplish.
So now let's talk about the concept chicken and whiskey, because it's, especially when it opened, it was unique. I mean, there were speakeasies
Yeah.
around DC, but what you were doing was a lot more sort of like Bathtub Gin up in New York,
Love it.
where
Yeah.
there was a coffee shop in the front and
Yeah.
then the secret
Or
door.
PDT.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I
or
mean?
Milk and
So,
honey.
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many more in New York
Yeah.
than in DC.
Yeah.
But was that your inspiration for
Well, go ahead, Kris, you
what?
start.
So funny enough, we initially set out just to do a fast casual chicken joint,
Okay.
and we were like, let's maybe get away from the bar stuff and see if we can just come up with a fast casual food concept. We found the space, loved the location, and what is now the Whiskey Bar was separated off from the space we were looking at. It used to be like an old parking, like someone's garage, right?
Okay.
So we looked around the space
Wait,
and
what was in the chicken and whiskey space? Because it's an old building.
Yeah. Previous it was a
gym,
Yeah.
doggy
Daycare.
yeah, a bunch
Yeah,
of
it
weird.
was never a restaurant.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 100. The building's 130 years old now, something like that.
When we took it over 7 years ago, it was 127 year old. Yeah, so it's 134 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an old building.
Jeez.
So when we got a tour, we said we love it to the broker, and the broker said, "Wait, but there's more." And we're like, "What do you mean there's more? This is exactly what we need." And
Right.
he
Yeah.
opened this weird, funky door, and there was 1,000 square feet hidden behind this big wall. And we're like, "All right, well, we'll just throw a bar in there, I guess."
Well, Kris started the whole thing. He wanted to do a really simplistic bar and food establishment.
Okay.
Super down and dirty, dive bar, no frills, menu on the wall, order your food off the menu on the wall, grab a couple drinks, bring some coolness and some sophistication, but never ever show it. never show it with the way the way we present ourselves. So we thought this was such a sort of a breath of fresh air coming from National Harbor. We're sort of a buttoned up corporate place, and we just jumped in. We got Chuck on board. Our partner Stu loved it. We all came up with this sort of chicken and whiskey idea together.
But where'd the chicken come from? What was it about what you were eating at the time, or what you saw was missing from the street?
It came from Highlandtown, Baltimore. When Des and I lived in Baltimore, we used to go to a place called.
Tell me about the Chaz Brown thing first.
Okay.
So Des and I had loved this place called Chicken Rico in Highlandtown or Greektown outside of Baltimore that we used to go to all the time, and it was fantastic. And we were introduced to Peruvian chicken there. We always loved that. And we had an investor from Kettle Hill that's like, you guys got to do this chicken concept.
But that was just like a go in, get your chicken, get out kind of place,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
with yuca or plantains or whatever, right?
So a gentleman that I had worked with when I was consulting in the Bahamas, his name is Chaz Brown. He was on Top Chef and around the world and
I mean, your name
50
dropping.
plates and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. He became a good friend of mine, and he had done a pop-up in New York City that was Korean fried chicken. So we initially had wanted to partner with Chaz to do a Korean fried chicken joint. And unfortunately, that just didn't work out. He was super busy in New York City and was doing a bunch of stuff. But we revisited the Pollo a la Brasa idea, and Des was lucky enough to connect with Enrique Lamardo.
Yeah, because he was originally in Baltimore.
Yeah.
I was going to ask,
everything comes from Baltimore.
Right.
So
I was like, because now he has like 8 restaurants in D.C., but prior to this, he wasn't in D.C. at all.
No, he was at Baltimore at La Cucina.
Right. No, not no.
At
Alma?
Alma La Cucina, yes.
Yes.
Alma La Cucina, he was the executive chef there. And I lived across the street with my wife and my newborn daughter, Karis. And we would go when we had a couple extra bucks to his restaurant, and it was really good.
Yeah, he's
a little
very
expensive.
talented.
But I was eating there maybe once every 2 or 3 months, special occasions, that kind of thing. Didn't know who he was.
Sure.
Didn't really know who he was until we had a fishmonger who we would buy our fish from in National Harbor. And he said, man, if you really want to get a great Latin talent, you got to go to have dinner at Alma, Cucina Latina, and you're going to see Enrique Lamardo. And I said, wait a second, I know this place. I go there. So I'm going to set you up with a meeting with him, with Enrique.
Wow.
And you guys can sort it out. So I was thrilled. I walked across the street. We had a meeting. I sat with Enrique the way Chris and I sit with everybody. And I was, at the time, I was by myself. Just pitched him the concept, with my little computer and my storyboard, like I, do with everybody. And it was very sort of like simplistic and quaint. And he just said, I always wanted to do this concept. He's like very dramatic and he's very Latin. And he always wanted to do this concept. I was like, well, let's do it together. It's like, no, I'll be a consultant. Didn't really want to be a partner yet.
I know, but
He's
that
a
was
partner
kind of
now.
smart. I know, but
Yeah.
I could see that. That's a smart guy, don't you?
Well, he's a smart guy because now he's our partner for
yeah.
for real. Yeah.
But wait, are you partners in all of his things?
No. Chicken
Sorry,
and
I was
Whiskey.
just curious.
The partnership of Chicken and Whiskey is with Enrique only on the SRG concept front.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But
So
that was
he
the linchpin.
designed the menu.
He did the menu, curated everything, introduced us to real, Venezuelan and Peruvian, and Peru with the influences from Japan and China. It's incredible. So that was a whole new light bulb moment for me personally. I can't speak to Chris, but that was really the linchpin that made this thing become wow. Not only worthy of the Tom Sietzemas of the world and all of the nuanced writers, but it gave us like real food credibility.
Give you street cred.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, the bar gave us the street cred, but he gave us the food credibility that we didn't really have before.
Right. No, the bar gave you the people coming cred. Because people walked in. I remember the first time I walked in, and I was like, I don't understand where's the bar? I didn't understand what was happening.
What is this?
People would literally leave reviews on Yelp like this place is like a scam. There's not even whiskey there. And you're like,
I was like, I don't understand what's happening here.
Well, tell her about the whole door and why we even did that.
We wanted to make it the chicken refrigerator in the back. It was just kind of a joke. I mean, we're used to coming from New York where there's so many hidden bars. We're like, it's not special. It's just going to be funny.
Right.
And that was the whole idea. But yeah, I mean, the bar was really inspired by this place in New York City called Mother's Ruin. And Mother's Ruin was able to find this niche of it's like a mature dive bar, if that makes sense. So it's like kind of dive bar prices and dive bar casual, but then they deliver
really good product,
really great product and really good service and really fun music and stuff. So we were really inspired by what TJ Lynch and the guys at Mother's Ruin were doing. So yeah, we just wanted to be a neighborhood bar that really under promises, over deliver, but at the end of the day, it's just fun.
But it's always packed.
Packed.
Always packed, right?
We were talking about
I haven't been in a couple months, but every time I've ever been,
it's a category busting anomaly.
Yeah.
In terms of sales per square foot, which is what Chris and
Right, it's 1,000 square feet, right?
The whiskey bar
it's 3,150 square feet.
The whole property.
The entire thing, right?
Right, but the
the bar is roughly 1,300 square feet.
Okay.
But the point is that we have magic happening there, and we've since then tried to recreate the magic, and it's been different, not the same. But that is a unique concept at a unique location that just caught like this incredible excitement from our audience, and it still is a thing. It still is a discovery. It still is a thing with the food and
and I want to be clear to people if they haven't been that it's a fast casual concept in the front.
Oh yeah,
it is not like
it's like a Chipotle.
Yeah, well,
but with a Michelin rated chef.
Let's put it
I don't mean to denigrate it, but
no.
It really, I don't want to be.
It's a fast casual concept,
it is.
right? And then you have the bar, so you're expanding on that now.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking it to other locations. Can you expand and still give the same vibe and sort of fun experience with the bar? Because I feel like that's special to DC. Can that translate in other markets?
We'll never be able to recreate what's on 14th Street. And truthfully, I don't think we've really attempted to do, people are like, why didn't you do a speakeasy at Ballpark? And we're like, you know what, that's special for 14th Street. Mm-hmm. But what we're finding is each location that we have between Columbia and Clarendon and even our Ballpark location, everything has its own little identity, right? So Ballpark now is really entertainment focused. So we have a stage, we do live performances every Friday and Saturday night. We just launched karaoke on Wednesdays, which is
are you kidding?
Bonkers.
It's so hot right now.
You got to sing.
Christmas.
Sing on Wednesdays.
Are you kidding?
We were there
my husband will sing Great Balls of Fire. That's his song.
What?
I love it.
That's what he does.
But yeah, we're finding every market really has its own little niche that we try to tie into. So nothing will ever really emulate what we're doing on 14th Street.
I think that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I think as we talked earlier, like fitting the need of the area, and I think it would really take away from the specialness of the bar. And like you can't always make fetch happen. You can't always repeat things. Sometimes it doesn't make sense.
It's true. And we had a special triumvirate of bartenders who were total theatrical people. I mean, these were actors, and they were generating the fun zone in that bar. We've really struggled to find talent like that, and that had a lot to do with it, giving us sort of a groundswell. But what you're talking about, this sort of geo-specific community, neighborhood joint, I never saw that coming. Oh, it was a miss. I mean, for me, I can't speak to Chris. For me, it was a gigantic miss. And we've since pivoted from, we'll put it this way. With the success of 14th Street, we suddenly get like all these big landlords, developers sniffing
knocking
around.
On your door.
Let's bring chicken and whiskey here. Let's bring chicken and whiskey there. Chris and I are jumping on planes. We're going to Tampa. We're cruising all around the greater DMV, Virginia, Baltimore, you name it, trying to find another home for this growth expansion because we're really.
But what are you growing? So it's the chicken concept you're growing of chicken and whiskey, but the whiskey is sort of like asterisks.
Oh no! It's you need them both.
Okay,
they're symbiotic.
So
for sure.
I haven't been to the one down by the baseball stadium. So how does a fast casual chicken place integrate a full bar program successfully?
It's really two businesses under one roof. There's a complete divide. So 14th Street, it's chicken in the front and whiskey in the back, and now they're really side by side. So they're standalones that support each other.
Oh, okay.
Completely separated, different lighting, different music, different everything. With just shared amenities. Really, you can get the full food menu in the whiskey bar. Yeah. We've got a bunch of drinks and cocktails on tap from the whiskey bar in the chicken joint that they're $8.
That makes it doable.
One of the really interesting things that's developed. 2023 has been a dramatic learning year. We did 3 chicken and whiskeys in under 2 years, which is we don't want to do that. We don't want to do more than one restaurant a year and a half. We're not built for that kind of expansion, really, at this point in time. We're still a small independent company, 420 employees. Soon to be 8 restaurants. But the point is that what we had on 14th Street, as soon as we moved it into a more commercial market with in office buildings, in condominium buildings, in great American malls, it changed. It became dramatically something else.
I bet.
And so what Chris was talking about earlier, we've had to creatively pivot But the good news is we're able to do that because we know how to use the space well, and we come up with different ideas, and we suss it out amongst our group. But we pivoted dramatically in the ballpark to an entertainment zone with the stage and the comedy.
It makes
and
so
the
much
sound
sense.
Oh, it does, right?
But here's what I think is great about what you guys are saying, because there has been so many times where I've had people sitting here and being like, but the people didn't understand what I wanted.
Oh,
do you know what I
listen,
mean? Like, no, they just didn't get it. And I'm like, no, you didn't get it. Like, you can't.
At the end of the day, the audience will impart on what they will. The audience will tell you what they want. And if you don't have big enough ears and listen well, then you're doomed. You probably shouldn't be in this business in the first place.
Well, I don't know if that's the case, but I agree with you. Like,
That's my take on it.
Okay, all right. You're allowed your take. I'm allowed mine. No, I do think that for some people, that, maybe they started off, like, for example, Chicken and Whisky on 14th Street was this huge success, right? Everybody loved it, loved the concept. It would be really easy to print and stamp it, or stamp and print it, around in other places. And, if people didn't get it, be like, well, they, what do they know?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, no, we want to make some money. Like, let's keep this happening.
Yeah.
So a real departure then is taking over Doi Moi, right?
Well, Chris, why don't you start with this?
Somewhat.
Chris discovered Doi Moi.
Became friends.
And Two Birds. I mean, Two Birds was my hangout, just so you know.
Yeah,
when Adam
was?
Bernbach was there. Oh my God, we all hung out there. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we literally opened Chicken and Whisky across the street from Doi Moi, and after we could only eat so much chicken, Doi Moi became my second kitchen.
Sure.
So I just fell in love with the food there and the staff there and the whole nine. And
so you guys probably were eating there after Mark passed away?
Correct.
So Hyder had already left. Hyder Karoom, who owns Chloe, he's the one who set up the initial menu there. And then Johanna took over after him.
Yeah, very talented chef. Johanna was the one that was in the kitchen.
Yeah. She was great.
I love her.
She's got something coming up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So that was it. We just spent a lot of time there, and I went there once with my wife, and I said, man, I love this place, but I feel like there's some components missing that could make it a little more engaging, not only from just having fantastic food, but just a little more vibrancy and stuff like that. And she said, you should talk to them about, partnering or giving your opinions. And I'm like, no one's going to listen to my...
to be clear, Jason loved Jason Culler, who took over for his brother after he passed.
Yeah.
Jason Culler loved Chicken and Whisky.
Yeah.
Like, I used to see him eating in the window at Chicken and Whisky all the time.
He's a great guy. So randomly, like 3 weeks go by, and I'm got invited to this, they called like a good friends dinner or something like that, where it's like 10 people get to invite 10 friends that are all different, and then everyone kind of like talks and mingles.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I get sat at...
Cool.
Yeah, I
I
like
want to
that.
be invited to something like
Yeah.
that.
How come I wasn't invited to that?
I don't know.
Where were we?
You guys will be my invites next time.
We're
But,
on the list for the
Okay,
next one.
we better be.
but a friend had hosted that, and who do I get sat next to? Jason Koehler. And Jason, unfortunately, because of his brother Mark's passing, he was really, these restaurants were dropped off in his lap, and he wasn't really a restaurant guy. He was a really great comedian and labor attorney, and he was living out on the West Coast. So yeah, we struck up a friendship, and then started having coffee and drinks and chatting, and then one thing led to the next, and Jason asked us if we would join the team.
God, isn't that amazing? And then what did you? Now I know it was Two Birds, and then they changed it to like the wedding, something that never.
Destination Wedding.
Oh,
Never got
yeah.
that. No judgment, but like Two Birds had a really Adam Bernbach. That was his space. He lives in the South now, but like that was like the bar. Before Chicken and Whisky, like everybody went there. It was small. It had this really great vibe, really good cocktails, great wine, and you could get some snacks from upstairs. So how did you engage that space? Because you have to know about that space because it's around the corner. You can get in through the restaurant if but it's really the separate entrance.
Well, we wiped the slate clean. We came in there, and I was super reluctant to get involved. I knew the real estate was good, and the deal was pretty good, meaning the partnership we had to strike with Jason. But I was really trepidatious about doing something that someone else had started. And then the more research I did on Mark, the more I realized here was this sort of bigger than life figure, right? And I'm this nobody.
I just want to tell you, Mark was like 6'10".
Yeah.
And he was the tallest guy. And and I'm 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
So when we would talk, I'm like talking to his belly button basically because he refused to like look down. He would look straight out. So I would like have to jump to like, It was not easy.
And he was this incredibly accomplished attorney.
I know.
And he had this massive reputation of.
He had the biggest wine cellar,
Yeah.
personal wine cellar. He
Right.
had 10,000 bottles of wine
Yeah.
in his house. And I got to partake in that. It was good.
Wow. And then the guy becomes this restaurateur. And
true.
suddenly all of these other accolades follow him in this other career. It was a daunting task. And the more research I did on him, the more I realized that, man, I'm in over my head with this concept. I know we're going to keep the name, but I don't really know what to do here. I don't really want to do it. I just don't want to do someone else's stuff. I want to do our own thing.
So how'd you convince him?
It took a lot of convincing.
Okay.
A lot.
Because you did it.
A lot.
But once he,
Are you still reticent?
Oh, no. Once I'm
good.
in, Chris will tell you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once he met Jason and really learned more about Mark, that's what I think got the buy-in. There was only so much convincing I could do.
It was. So Jason and I went on two dates, two man dates. And for about 4 hours each time, we just ate and drank, and I just interviewed him
Sure.
about everything. And we really bonded. We connected over a lot of things. And I told him when I was done that my mission was to honor his brother, the legacy, but it was going to be something new and fresh. And if you're okay with it, I'm going to take a crack at it, and I'll present something, to you after Chris and Stu bless it, because we do everything together. It's the three of us. It's not. There's no boss. The three of us call all the shots together, which is great because no one has the pressure, right?
Sure.
And we all back each other up. So if I could get Jace, Stuart, and Chris to buy in, then we would show it to Jason Koehler, which we did. And man, I'm not really a nervous guy, and Chris will tell you we do a lot of pitches together. I don't really get nervous in pitch rooms and in audiences. I was really nervous.
Okay.
I was sweating. I don't really. My hands were sweating.
All
I
right.
wanted him to like it so badly that I was freaking out inside.
Okay, so what's the pitch?
What the pitch of Doimoy?
Yes.
Well, I wanted to create a. Doimoy was white, right? It was
All white.
completely white. I wanted to go the opposite way. I wanted Doimoy to feel like Indochine, the Catherine Deneuve movie. I wanted it to be exploding with so much color that it was just palpable, and you could reach in through the screen and just touch and feel the food and the timeline and the era. I just fell in love with that specific period of time in Vietnam with the French occupation and a lot of, and this is the second part. So many horrific bad things happened that are and they're widely publicized. Everybody knows. Whenever you have an occupying country taking over another, there's going to be nothing but bloodshed. But what came out of it was incredible cuisine that to this day is just incredibly popular.
Yes.
So again, we'd like to take the bullshit and bring something positive out of it. The demise of Kettle Hill begat the success of Walrus.
Sure.
But here we are with this mini movie we're trying to create. And this infusion of color and character and a brand new menu. Chris did all these great things with the bar, and we opened up this window. We made it street in, street out, so people could feel it and see it from the curb. Tremendous curb appeal. But the key was we got the menu right. We honored a couple of dishes that were on the previous menu.
Sure.
But yet we put all this new stuff on there.
But who'd you bring in to cook?
Wade Fat.
Okay.
Chef Wade Fat, and he was our opening chef. He was really more a consultant.
Okay.
We didn't want to jump in bed with an executive chef or another partner, so we hired him to get us started. And in a totally sort of 360 moment, just recently, Chris and Stu and I hired a guy by the name of Death Kayafone, who when Hyder Karoum was the executive chef, he was the executive sous chef. Of
Doimoy
at Doimoy.
Oh, no
at
kidding.
Doimoy. So he's now starting to work with us in
Oh my God, that's full circle.
in January. On our next iteration of the menu.
Oh,
How
fantastic.
crazy is that?
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh yeah, so it's going to be dynamite. I can't wait.
Oh, that is exciting. And I feel like, okay, so you have these locations. What did you do with the space, the Two Bird space?
So it's Doimoy downstairs.
That's it.
So it's just a completely different feel. The ground level, like Des said, it's bright. It's meant to be a bit chaotic. It's meant to be loud. It's street. It's really Vietnamese street food concept upstairs. Really vibrant tropical drinks upstairs. Inexpensive. We do an $8 daiquiri program, which is insane. We do
That is insane.
Yeah, and
That's
we do
crazy.
seasonal $8 daiquiris, and we sold over 65,000 daiquiris last year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then downstairs is just more decadent. It's more kind of opium den-esque, dark, sultry,
I have
Cocktails
to
are a
get in.
bit
I
different.
apologize.
Yeah.
You got to.
I have to come in. I haven't been
You got to
in.
come check it out.
I know, it's my fault. I haven't been in.
Music is
Listen,
killer.
we have to wrap it up. But before we do, I do want to talk about just quickly about being on 14th Street, how it feels now as opposed to 7 years ago when you guys started there, and sort of what your thoughts are. I mean, listen, I go to 14th Street multiple times a week.
Yeah.
My friends have businesses there. I'm down there. I have no issues. But, there's a lot of fear out there at the moment. There's a lot of broadcast stories. Is it affecting you, and is it affecting your business? Somebody.
Touchy subject.
I know.
So 14th Street for us has been, it's 14th Street. It's like the nexus for us. It's the nexus of DC. So business is there. The traffic is there, but we've had multiple shootings literally in front of our restaurants, where we've got to get all the guests down on the ground and hit the deck, and lots of robberies in our businesses. So we've, there's still a lot of good going on 14th Street, but there has been a huge uptick in crime over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I am a fiercely independent sort of person. I do not wait for the cavalry to come save me. I circle the wagons, and I'm a big proponent of we save ourselves, right? And so to that end, we tighten up security, we hire security, we increase surveillance, we double down on all those security measures that are going to protect ourselves, and then we keep pushing out our intolerance for BS shenanigans. For example, we're not afraid to call the cops if we see any problems ever at any time. If we have an aggressive homeless person who has psychiatric issues, we have hotlines to get these people,
The
help.
they need.
And yeah, because you can't throw those guys in jail.
No, of course
'Cause
not.
Not only is it not helpful to them, it's not helpful for the society as a whole, but they need attention, right? So we got to get that. We do that. We make sure that our staff is super vigilant about what happens in the evenings, type of people that come in and go. But I
think for your staff and for your consumers, that knowing that you have their back is a real reassurance, especially to the staff. Like if your staff is like, no, these guys got my back.
Yeah.
That sort of reaches out to the people who are dining there. Do you know what I mean?
So our biggest thing was adding 2 additional security guards, and one in front of Chicken and Whiskey and one at Doimoy, where they literally are just out there to help guests, help our staff, show presence.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunate, but so smart.
Yeah.
You just have to have an intolerance for the BS, and you have to, and as long as you show a united front, not only will your staff have your back as well, but the bad guys will recognize that and like, you know what, those guys are problematic. It didn't help us not get robbed 3 times at Chicken and Whiskey, 3 times at Doimoy and once at Chicken and Whiskey. But what it did do is it just galvanized us enough to keep it moving forward, keep it going, still trying to push out a good and not giving in, Nycci.
Right.
Not giving in.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm
you
with
can't
you.
give in.
Well, listen, I want to thank you guys. I have to end. The show could go on for a long time, but
This was fun.
I have to end it. Of course it's fun.
Yeah.
Don't be so
Thanks for having
surprised. Tell everybody where they can find you on Insta, how we can stay in touch with new things, all the things.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
At Chicken and Whiskey, at Walrus Oyster and Ale, at Doimoy DC, and soon to be arriving at Benny's Pizzas.
Oh, right.
So-
Wait, where's Benny's Pizza opening?
Oh, yeah. Benny's
We didn't even
Pizzas
get
opening
into
up at the mall in Columbia.
Okay.
Grand opening is going to be the 21st of December. So the mall in Columbia gets a brand new Christmas present this year. We're bringing New York style pizza
By the slice?
by the slice and the whole pie.
Okay.
We've got a kick-ass, I'm not even supposed to say his name, kick-ass Michelin star
It's okay.
chef.
Nobody listens. Go ahead.
All right. So Gerald Addison is
Oh,
doing our
sure.
pizza. Oh, yeah, right. His food is incredible. And Chris and our team are going to be pumping out our same amazing cocktails, but it's going to be sandwiched right in between Chicken and Whiskey and Walrus.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you guys. Well, listen, thank you both for joining me today. I'm just going to have you sit for a second while I wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So thanks to both of them for joining me. And thank you for joining me here in the beautiful Wren in the Capital One building in Tysons. So much more to do here in Tysons. I can't wait to sort of skulk around and see what else is opening up around here. So follow me at NYCCINELLIS, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the platforms. And don't forget the show. Not only can you download it on any of your favorite podcast platforms, but it's also available on YouTube. Thanks again for joining me today, and have a delicious week.
Produced by Heartcast Media.